Hello, termites. Welcome back. It's night 40. How we all feeling? I'm fine. I finished Mrs. America. Told you guys about that. Well, I haven't finished, but I'm out of them to watch. And The Last Dance, watch that. And that's about it. Now I'm just kind of sitting outside because it's getting warm, like an old person. I moved outside, like that's an event at this point. All right, we left out, Jameson. This is the giant bottle. This is the giant bottle that lives in the liquor closet. We don't tell a lot of people about the closet, but this is where the big bottles live. The refillable giant bottles. And really, nothing can top Jameson. Redbreast, maybe the 12. But for a day-to-day, reliable, dependable nightcap, Jameson. Can't go wrong. And no carbs. Throwing that out there. No carbs. Okay, we left off. Tanya was going to go to a reverse dance with somebody she really liked, this guy Dale. She was going to get him a $4.99 prime rib dinner, if we recall. Remember, she's still only like 13. The day went by, and all I could think of was getting to the top of the Landmark, that's the restaurant, and have a prime rib with Dale. A few days before the big event, I got home from school, and Dad was waiting for me. "You're booked at Bobby McGee's this Saturday," he said. "That's the night of the Sophomore reverse." I wasn't believing it. He shrugged and said, "It's also $600, and we're not turning it down." Notice the were part. It's disturbing. How about you, Daddy? Get a job too, and then it ain't all on my 13-year-old ass. Just saying that. I was just sick. It was such a letdown. I went back into my room and had a talk with myself about the responsibility of a career and paying the bills and all the sacrifices people had made for me. That's how you look at it. Then I called Dale and canceled our date for Sophomore reverse. Bobby McGee's was not one of my favorite places to play anyway. It was in Gilroy, California. It was one of the roughest clubs I've ever been in. And that's saying a lot if that's coming from Tanya. Shoo, buddy. It was the kind of place where if you said something a guy didn't like, he just might pull a gun on you. At one show, I was changing into my stage clothes in the dressing room when a guy knocked right through the wall and landed at my feet. So that was what I was trading my first date for. We pulled up to that club Saturday night and there wasn't a soul in sight. Not only that, but the doors had been boarded up. Oh no. Daddy drove into town and a fella at a gas station said it had been closed down by the law because of prostitution and drugs. We didn't have much to say to each other on the way home. I didn't really blame my dad. He was sick too. That we'd spent the money for the drive to Gilroy and coming home empty-handed. Nothing about her dance. He doesn't seem to feel bad about that at all. But okay. I might have missed out on the Sophomore reverse, but later that year I discovered two new important loves. My first real boyfriend and cutting horses. I was playing the Flamingo Hotel in Vegas. The World Cutting Finals were being... Now, I've heard of the World Rodeo Finals. I know when Rodeo Week is in Las Vegas because I usually am not working that week there. They choose other comedians that would be more appropriate. Which is fine, but I've never heard of the World Cutting Finals. I don't know if they still exist. Maybe they do. Does anybody out there know anything about all this? I don't. The World Cutting Finals are being held at the Stardust, which does no longer exist either. I believe that was one of the ones that was imploded. And I'd been asked to participate as a celebrity contestant. Cutting as a new event grew out of cattle drives, when a cow was sick or had to be removed or cut from the herd. Cowboys took a great deal of pride in how they maneuvered the cow and eventually turned it into a formal competition. Pat Patterson, who later became my cutting trainer, won that year. But the big moment for me came when a young cutter named Mike Mowry rode out into the arena. He was blonde, gorgeous, and at 16, the youngest guy out there. In those days, cutting was primarily an older man's event. The younger cowboys rode broncos and bulls, but Mike loved cutting, and he was good at it. I watched him ride and thought to myself, there's the boy for me. We met at a lunch with a group of rodeo people at the Stardust. I didn't say much to him that day, but I already had a Class A crush. We stayed in touch, and the next time I played a show close to California Ranch where he worked, he invited me to come along the morning after my show to a cut to a cutting in Turlock, California. I've been invited to a lot of strange things over the years from people I had just recently met. But I can honestly say I've never been invited to a cutting of a horse. I still don't even know what it is, and I've already read a whole page about it. I have no idea. Cutting from the herd, that's all I got. I worked late, jumped out of bed early. Lack of sleep was the last thing I was concerned with. We loaded up Mike's horse, a champion cutter named Rancho Dick, and drove through the foggy wee hours to the morning of the grounds. I got to ride, too, and came in third. It was probably a combination of what I now considered a boyfriend and actually placing in my first cutting, which I felt like I owned the world. What I didn't know was that the love for cutting events would last much longer than my feelings for Mike. Oh, poor Mike. He's going to get ditched. Participating in the cutting events during that time made me realize there are some real benefits to being an entertainer. Perks you don't anticipate in the beginning. You have the opportunity to do all kinds of things you might not be able to afford to do on your own, like riding limos, sail on yachts. I went on an alligator hunt when I worked the Baton Rouge Club at night. Probably stupid in retrospect. Probably shouldn't have just gone with two guys that worked at the club and went, "You want to go hunt gators tonight?" And I went, "Yeah, why not? It's free. I have no money." That sounds fun. It was kind of fun, but it was terribly frightening, and all I could think of was snakes. Cutting, what else do you get to do? Sail on yachts. Yep, I got to do that at the Nantucket Comedy Festival. And yes, cut horses. Cutting is a rich man's sport. I still don't know what the sport is. I've been reading for 5 minutes. Something about when one is sick. I don't really know. And if you're going to do it full time, you better have a pile of cash ready. I found out just how expensive it was, a sport it was soon after meeting Mike. Thinking I wanted to get serious about the event, I phoned a special cutting school in Los Angeles and asked about signing up. Sure, the guy said, "We'll just need a check for $25,000. Huh. I said I'd think about it and hung up, figuring I'd have to settle for the celebrity events and whatever training I could get there. I still have a serious desire to really train as a cutter. I continued to see Mike over the next couple years at celebrity events and rodeos where I was hired to perform, but he had rodeo and I had country music, and those two careers don't make getting to know a person easy. Mike didn't like the idea of a girlfriend who was on stage performing. Well, that's not very nice, is it, Mike? Why do you care? If that's what she likes to do and she's good at it, where's the problem? Mike? Maybe Mike needed to be a little more flexible and he could be Mike Tucker right now if he'd have taken her name. He wanted a traditional relationship, and traditional is hard to come by for an entertainer. I should say so. All right, well, that's the end of that chapter, so we'll stop there for tonight. We're almost to chapter 19, and we're almost to the pictures. There's the pictures, which I will do close-ups so you guys can see them. And then the question is, will we make it to the end of the book by the end of the shutdown? Probably not, but I will keep going because I've done other story times and you guys watched them. And I check how many people are watching, so you better be watching. Because what if I became a total jackass and there was only 2 chapters left and I went, no, I'm not going to do it. You would have to then go get this book, which is impossible. So you'd have to giggle on the giggle machine. What happened to Tanya Tucker? I mean, she's alive, we know that. But you wouldn't really know exactly what happened. But I wouldn't be that mean to do that. So, all right. Well, if you can see behind me, the flowers are pathetic. Somebody told me to plant the tulip bulbs for the tulips. I never even thought of that. So I did. I went to the side of the yard and I did it. And then some goddamn squirrel came and uprooted 2 out of 3. I guess I'll need to go deeper. That squirrel just ran around and did not leave. It's gone. Didn't leave it. So I guess I have to dig deeper. Anyway, thanks for that helpful hint. And thanks whoever told me how to get blackbirds away from the feeder for the cardinals. It worked. I can't pronounce it. The white seeds. That's what you use. They hate them, and they haven't come back. All right. Night-night, termites. In the words of Ron White, that's what we got to say to you. Tuck yourself in, as you've done for the last probably 54 nights. Hunker down. You don't need to know what day it is. You don't need to know what time it is, unless you're still functioning in the real world. Some people are. For the rest of us that aren't, who cares? Just have a good night, termite. Sleep well.